Here we are, last but not least, my other most favorite topic in this whole workshop, enhanced intuition. Addressing and understanding our personal triggers, our outdated narratives, our cognitive biases, and our blind spots. These are all crucial for developing our intuition and self-awareness. Simply being aware that these things are active within us and how to more easily notice when they are activated, many of them will fall away on their own accord without us really having to do any work whatsoever. As I said before, just with a little bit of practice consistently over a short amount of time, you will get stuck less often and you will stay stuck for shorter amounts of time. This will clear a path for intuitive insights to begin emerging more consistently as you are tuned in more fully to your inner genius. In a lot of my other videos, especially my YouTube videos, I talk a lot about how up till this point in our life, we have lived in a world that has favored learned knowledge over intuitive knowing. And that dynamic, in my opinion, is quickly shifting. In this age of AI, all the information, all the data, all the content that you could ever think of consuming is going to be available in these AI models for anyone to access. But in order to access it in a very useful way, you need to be able to feel into what that use case is. What is it that I'm wanting the data for? And what is the optimal data that I need to get? And which AI model is the best one to get it from? This can only come from being really clearly tuned into our intuition and knowing how to listen and then how to communicate. This is a dynamic shift in the world that's been made possible as a result of this AI revolution. And when I really get still and I look into the future, I see that intuition is going to be the #1 skill of the future. So some of the key points here. Recognizing our triggers help us to understand our emotional landscape, as well as the beliefs that shape those reactions. Once we can see them, we can start to redirect them into more useful neural pathways. By addressing and resolving the triggers, we remove the emotional clutter that can obscure our intuitive insights. I'm sure many of you have been in this situation. I certainly have, so many times in my life, where I had this great revelation, but then I'm paralyzed because I don't know if that's just a really nice thought or if that's really the thing that I'm supposed to do. It's not always easy to know, and that's just because we haven't done the work to understand these outdated narratives or personal triggers or cognitive biases or blind spots. There was a quote that I picked up somewhere along the way by Ibram Kendi. He said, "Definitions anchor us in principles. This is not a light point. If we don't do the basic work of defining the kind of people we want to be in language that is stable and consistent, then we can't work towards stable, consistent goals." And I loved this quote so much. Part of that confusion that's happening is because there's this whole chemical storm that goes on every time that we're triggered. What that trigger does is release a bunch of neurochemistry that impacts our ability to clearly perceive information in this eternal now. So by understanding our triggers, just knowing that they're even there in the first place, allows us to better emotionally regulate and leads us to a more balanced and thoughtful decision making. So I gave a few small steps here to address our triggers. We can reflect on situations that provoke strong emotional reactions. So if you're ever wrestling with a situation and you can't quite understand it, go to ChatGPT and say, I'm struggling with this situation. Help me understand it. Help me find some neutrality about the situation so that I can know best how I can move forward in a way that is in alignment with my virtues and my beliefs. Second, we can explore our underlying beliefs. Using self-inquiry and tools like ChatGPT, we can uncover the beliefs that are driving these reactions. And again, look to see, is this belief useful at this point on my journey? What else might be true that could be more useful? Finally, reframing narratives. We're going to challenge and reframe outdated or limiting beliefs to create a more empowering mindset. Again, whatever it is that I believe is at best only relatively true. Whatever I believe is at best only relatively true. So when I find myself locked in some sort of narrative that is just, this is unfair, this is not right, how can they do this? Whatever this narrative is that I've been carrying around, I can become aware of that narrative and I can say, well, I'm not saying that's not true, but what else might be true also? The capacity to hold equal yet opposite ideas in our mind and consider both from a neutral perspective is what's going to help us step with greater clarity and consistency into the new world that we're wanting to experience. So by focusing on ChatGPT in this lesson as a mirror for self-reflection, you will gain a deeper understanding of your own triggers and narratives, which will pave the way for greater intuition and self-awareness. This approach is going to help you build a strong foundation for intuitive decision-making. Thanks.